got the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California has won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes!
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vance, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
Hey, good morning. How are you? It is Monday here on the program, episode 46 of BDST on YouTube. As always, we would love to hear from you. Join us in the chat room, McClellan Chiropractic chat room, or the Professional Door Incorporated BDST text line. Hit us up there as well, 391-0788. We're here to review the college football weekend. Good morning, Opal. How are you? Good to see you. All right, so this one is called Dance Pop. A little lively, a little more livelier for Monday. All right, good stuff. All right. Hey, Opal. Opal and Tootie. Good morning. Good way to start in our McClellan Chiropractic chat room. We're going to review the football weekend. Jermaine Ferrell scheduled to join us. Brian Seigla from the Boundary Corner, and then the coach, Phil Elmassian. His segment has exploded in popularity, just getting started. So we'll talk to Coach about the Tech game. We're going to get into the Tech game here. And the weekend that was, and get your thoughts on Georgia Tech knocking off the Hokies 35-20. Georgia Tech now 6-0. Tech falls to 2-5. We'll talk about all that. Great Hall of Fame homecoming weekend at Radford. Hall of Fame Friday night was very special. We inducted an amazing class, highlighted by, of course, Javonte Green, who's starting year 7 in the NBA this year with the Detroit Pistons. Mike Jones. And I was concerned, that I was not going to make it through the introduction of Mike Jones to the stage without blubbering. I made it a little bit. But then we all went out to a fine Radford establishment with Coach and a lot of his former coaches and peeps, and it was a great time. We had a great time. It was a great Hall of Fame night. Vincent Wyatt, Pebble Smith, Rachel Wychecki. Wychecki and Vincent, of course, we call her Checky, volleyball great. Vincent Wyatt, the greatest track athlete of all time at Radford. He's now there's a new high school up there in Covington, Allegheny area. They consolidated. Is that Allegheny High School? It is, isn't it? I think he's the AD there now. Pebbles kind of helped Radford women's hoops when we went to Division I. She bridged that gap. Great point guard. And then Javonte, almost 2,000 points and 1,200 rebounds. Great night. And Mike Jones, our second all-time winningest coach. It was just a fun time. From the tasty bite of the Jazz Bow at Corned Beef Company to the mouth-watering Hindenburg at McAdoo's, and now the delicious cold draft beer at the Brass Top in Palm Coast. BDST is on the air. Oh, that sounds like fun. The Brass Tap. The Brass Tap. Good stuff. Good morning, Prometheus. Yeah, you did. You picked 34-21. Final was 35-20. Let's get into it. Tech falls to 2-5. Georgia Tech kind of separated themselves early. Wasn't really a serious challenge throughout the game by the Hokies. It was 18-0 right out of the chute. And that Haynes Keene fella, he's really, really good. 20 of 24, threw a touchdown. Ran for 60 yards. That team ran for 268 yards on the ground against Virginia Tech. They averaged 6.5 yards per carry. Just a little stretch running game. Malachi Hosley was getting massive chunks of yardage. And Tech was just outmatched. Let's just say it the way it was. Good morning, Rodney. They were just outmatched. But I will say this. It showed up to me going back. And, again, I was unable to watch but had the game recorded. It's great that I can go back and do that I can give you a nice synopsis of what I thought. We're going to get into that, Al, because I got a lot of response on the text line over the weekend, our professional door text line, about what you just put in chat. But in any event, I will say this. The effort really showed up to me watching the game. In other words, the players that are out there played really hard. I didn't see that as much in the weight game in the second half. I know Coach Montgomery was praising the effort. I didn't see it bounce off the screen like I did against Georgia Tech. They were outmanned, but they didn't stop playing hard. Kyron Drones plays really, really hard. I'll say that. I have respect for the fact that he knows it's a lost season. He knows that his career hasn't panned out. Now he's getting paid, so I don't feel sorry for any of these guys. He's getting paid over $1 million. So, but I will say this, he's not out there phoning it in. So I do have respect for that. He tries very, very hard. He's just not the guy that Brent Pry envisioned him to be. That's all. So Georgia Tech was just a better football team coming off their bye week. They've got a huge game coming up against Duke. I'm going to be very interested in that one. That's one I'm going to watch. I think Duke is really good, and we're going to find out a lot about Georgia Tech going on the road in Durham this weekend. Tech, of course, going into their bye week. In California on a Friday night is their next outing, a very winnable game. Probably be the last game that they're favored in. But now you got time to take a deep breath and pierce through all the rumblings going on with the coaching search. But what Al's talking about, and I heard from over 24 people on the text line. Now, it's up to you if you want to talk about this. The line on the game closed at 14.5. And this is where the whole betting thing, and this is just where, this is why people get suspicious. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are just people who pay attention. It was a 14.5-point spread. Tech scores third touchdown. Then they go for 2. They don't get it. And then loses by 15. They didn't need to go for 2 because the game was on 7s, as Coach Hicks used to call it. Right? You were at 35-21. Georgia Tech had went for 2 early and got it. But then the 2-point conversion failed. They lose by 15. And people were like, See, people aren't stupid. And, yeah, that was interesting. Now, do I think that Philip Montgomery got a call from some bookie and said, hey, you should go for 2 here and not make it? No, I don't think that. But it did make sense going for 2 in that scenario when the game is on 7s. Going for 2 doesn't give you some innate advantage. And if you don't make it, then you're down by 15. So then you have to go for two at least one other time if you were somehow able to score, make it a one-score game. So, yeah, it was very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. But, yeah, people noticed. So Tech falls to 2-5. They need the time off. We want to thank Family Fencing, Jason Green, sponsoring our studio here in Reiner, familyfencingnrv.com. Any kind of fencing that you want to imagine that your home needs, well, that's what they do. They're the best. Go see them. Free quotes, locally owned, finance options. They got it all. Mark Hundley, McClellan Chiropractic chat line. Thanks, Marco. Thanks to Professional Door Incorporated, Travis Williams, text line 540. By the way, JMU won again. 3910788. Matt Rome, their AD, and JMU won again. 38 years in business, right across from New River Community College, Route 100. Garage doors better than anybody in the damn country. Let's just say it that way. They're the best. The absolute best. Thanks so much to Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, presenting sponsor of the program. Jonathan Sweet, Tim Miller, all those guys. I'm going to see if we can get somebody else on from up there this week, talk about what they do. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. Give them a call, 540-553-2971 for all your air and heating needs. I think it's pretty easy what the BDST question of the week is going to be from the attorney, Ryan Pry. 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning. We're going to segue into that later, Ryan, but I think I've got a good one. National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of BDST on YouTube. I went to the National Bank function Saturday night, and it was awesome. My fiance works there, hung out with Lara. She loves the show. Good morning, Lara. You're watching, I know. Thank you for your support. Been there with 35 years with those folks. They're the best. NRV Super Bowl, thanks to them, 25 years in the community, 382-5525. Halloween's a great time to go to NRV Super Bowl, Boogie Bowling. And thanks to Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg, 381-8011. Give James a call. And, of course, go buy your next vehicle at Harvey's GM. See Brad Harvey. You won't regret it. Correct, Paul. It's obvious that Pop Watson cannot run the offense. So he said this at the beginning. I was told this early on. There's no confidence there. He has not developed. He's been a bust. It's time to just everybody move on from Pop Watson. Don't always think that the next guy, hey, Troy, good morning. Thanks again for the updates, man. I couldn't respond to you Friday night because I was doing the Hall of Fame emceeing thing, but it really helped. Bad news for our Cougars, man. Whew. Graham came up to Dublin and put a hurt in Pulaski County. Yikes. But Pop Watson isn't the guy. And again, this is what we're talking about, evaluations, and what led to Brent Pry being very ineffective. His evaluation of talent, whether it be high school kids or the portal. He got some guys out of the portal right, but overall he missed. He missed on the offensive line. He missed at linebacker. He missed at quarterback. You can't miss at quarterback. We'll talk to Phil Elmassian about this more coming up. Jason, good morning. Hello to all the folks at Family Fencing. But I will say, to me, the effort showed up. Now, you might disagree. I know people are frustrated. The kids on the field Saturday played really hard. By the way, that was the proper Virginia Tech uniform. On the road, they wear the proper Tech uniform. That looked really good, maroon and white. But I will not fault the effort. I thought it was their best physical effort. They just couldn't. They don't have the Jimmies and Joes to keep up with Georgia Tech. And think about that statement right there. And this leads us into everything else that's going on with Tech football. And we had something yesterday that happened that made national college football news. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. And oh, my goodness gracious. The firing of James Franklin at Penn State, and what I've been getting from the Facebook messages to my post I put up to this show. Wow. We'll get into all that too. Hey, you know what? I was told 4 years ago that when Virginia Tech needed a coach, that Kirk Cignetti was too old for Whit Babcock. I had that from a very reliable source. Oh, wait a minute. He just went to Oregon. That's right, Joseph. He's pretty good, isn't he? That Cignetti guy can coach. Huh. You think anybody in Hoosier land thinks he's too old? You think anybody in the Big Ten saying Indiana's not a contender because their coach is in his early 60s? Would have come to Blacksburg. It's science. It's factual. Tech said, no. That's just crazy talk. Oh, we want a younger guy. AD remains, though. He remains. Yeah, Indiana's might be better this year than last year. How about that? Indiana, folks. Indiana football. You're removed from the playoff. Where are they going to be now? In the top 5 in the country. Just one at Oregon. Quack, quack. He's an old man. He's an old man. That guy can't possibly be successful in a league like the Big Ten. Well, you know, the Big Ten doesn't control anything. Oh, wait. Billy Napier back on watch. Hey, but apparently, you know, Tech fan just waits for coaches to be fired before they get excited about a potential candidate. We're going to talk about all that. 34-17, A&M crushes Florida. Texas wins the Red River shootout, 23-6. Alabama got very fortunate, but they survived a road SEC game at Missouri. Missouri was calling that the biggest game in their program's history, 27-24. Georgia beat Auburn, the oldest rivalry in the South, 20-10. LSU knocks off Shane Beamer's South Carolina Gamecocks, 20-10. So what does he do? He fires his offensive line coach on Sunday. When you're firing a coach the day after a loss, you're being told to do that. Keep an eye on what's happening in South Carolina in a month after this gauntlet of games. Okay? Tennessee edges Arkansas. How about Arkansas? They fired their coach, inspired effort, but they lost down in Rocky Top 34-31. Big win for West Coast football. Well, UCLA won again, too, by the way. They go to Michigan State and just beat the snot out of Sparty. What? USC crushed Michigan 31-13. NC State no match for Notre Dame 36-7. BYU in double overtime beat Arizona 33-27. Colorado, hey, Matt Campbell. Colorado knocked off Iowa State 24-17. Iowa State will be out of the top 25. Their season is going, so naturally this will be a guy that many people clamor for. James Madison beat Louisiana 24-14. JMU's now 5-1 on the season. And Northwestern beat Penn State 22-21. There was a shot it showed up all over X after the game. Fans were just irate. A massive chant, fire Franklin, and he's standing there on the field wanting his players to get off the field because they were being bombarded with things. And you could see him looking around, and he realized it was the last time he was ever going to step foot on that field. And sure enough, midday yesterday, James Franklin was fired. And now this has set off a firestorm of speculation that James Franklin will be the next football coach at Virginia Tech. I'm not lying. I'm getting text messages from people who say they should go there immediately. By the way, yes, and Pitt, game that I picked, by the way, knocks off Florida State. So how about Mike Norvell is going to lose his job. There's going to be another one, Tech fan, another guy who couldn't get it done. Those of you that are just salivating over James Franklin, I'm going to show you a graphic here in a second. Everyone's saying, why in the world would that happen? They were just in the playoff. Standards are a little different at certain programs, apparently. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you the graphic coming up that got James Franklin fired. For me, this Penn State was terrible because they got hit with all that probation. Remember, because of the scandal. Remember all that? Penn State's program almost got the death penalty. It wasn't terrible because of natural attrition. They had to, build that thing back up. But I'm going to show you a graphic. All I'm going to say is this. I will never, ever crap on anybody's opinion. I'm not a guy that's not how I operate. You have an opinion about something, I respect it. How you feel about something, I respect it. That's what this is supposed to be about. Something that you can't have anymore in politics with discussions at all because, one side hates everybody else. The other side probably does too, right? So if you have an opinion about something, that's how you feel about it, that's great. I'm not going to ever, that's your opinion. And you know what? Run with it. If Tech fan wants to hire James Franklin, go with it. I'm just going to provide you a little evidence here in just a second. Well, let me just do it right now. So everybody's going to look at the record. He had some good records, right? He did. They were just in the playoff. He did. But I'm going to show you the graphic that got James Franklin fired. Are you ready? Read that. If you can't see it, let me help. James Franklin at Penn State, 1-15 versus top 5 opponents. Well, hang on. I also hit I left the National Bank thing rolling, didn't I? Let me get that fixed. Hang on. There we go. I'm sorry. 1-15 versus top 5 opponents. 4-21 versus top 10 opponents. 15-30 versus the top 25. And then the 2 big games in which Penn State measures their program in that league against Michigan and Ohio State, 4-17. When they say that what do they say? Not big game, James. This is what Penn State's talking about. Or Penn State fans are sitting here. I'm going to leave the graphic up for a second and let you look at it. All of the people who've been hitting me up saying this is a no-brainer. By the way, he's going to make $50 million for god-awful decision-making by athletic departments. Why in the holy hell does this continue to go on? Let's pay him $50 million because the guy couldn't get it done here. He couldn't do his job that he's already being paid multiple millions of dollars to do, double-digit millions of dollars. So what we're going to do, we're going to pay him $50 million so we can get rid of it. Make it make sense. Again, James Franklin at Penn State, 1-15 against the top 5, 4-21 against the top 10, 15-30 against the top 25. But hey, that guy is the one that apparently most people want in Blacksburg. Okay. Here's the other side of it. Let's have some fun now. So I brought up, all I shared last week was someone whose agent is close with the agent of Ryan Silverfield at Memphis. Interest has been reciprocated, right? I brought that to you because I know it to be true. I got so much pushback. Oh, my Lord. I'm not saying from here, just in chat, but people were sending me messages. Why would we want another Memphis guy? Why would we want that connection, even though Ryan Silverfield has nothing to do with Justin Fuente in any way, shape, or form? Coaches completely differently. His personality is completely different. Memphis is 6-0. Same crowd, I guarantee you, are now looking at James Franklin going, hey, this has got to be our guy. Hang on, wait a minute. You're talking about connections. You don't want the same type of connection. If I'm not mistaken, Didn't James Franklin send Brent Pry to Blacksburg? Wasn't Brent Pry's coaching idol that he tutored under at Vanderbilt and Penn State, James Franklin? How'd that work out in Blacksburg? Is that not a more direct connection to a failed head coach than Ryan Silverfield and Justin Fuente? But you're going to ignore that connection, but yet come after what I said about Ryan Silverfield. Okay. Don't you see the hypocrisy of it just a little? Maybe. Just a tad. Maybe. Just a little. Right? Just pointing that out. You don't want the connection. There's none whatsoever other than the school and the coaching colors that he wears with Memphis. But yet this guy developed Brent Pry, who, of course, lost his job. That's all. That's all. That's all I'm going to say about that. It's fun playing devil's advocate because, I get, people were playing devil's advocate about my info. And again, I never said that Silverfield was going to be a major candidate, but why not talk to him? And Tech's going to. Great. Will they talk to James Franklin? I have no idea. What is James Franklin's motivation too? Those of you that are clamoring. And I know there are many of you are because I've heard from you. What's his motivation making $50 million for getting fired to jump back into coaching? And how dedicated is he going to be to his next job? Think about that scenario for a second. $50 million. By the way, this is a guy who never developed a quarterback at Penn State that went on to do anything in the NFL. He always had trouble with quarterbacks. I'm just saying it's a name. People are chasing the name. And just because somebody has a name doesn't mean they would come into Blacksburg and be anything like what you would hope they would be. Every coach that gets fired all of a sudden is the hottest candidate. Right? So in other words, Tech is very happy to take everybody else's hand-me-downs. How bad was it at Penn State and how universally accepted was it that James Franklin was removed from his job? They put up a thank you. Go to X and find Penn State football. They put up, thank you, Coach Franklin. They turned off the comments. They turned off the comments. Hey, Brian, good morning. New member. Great to see you in here. And here's the other thing, too. A lot of the people were talking about his recruiting ties in Virginia. People are still thinking like dinosaurs. You're putting way too much emphasis on what 2 or 3 or 4 high school players he may have a connection with. It has nothing to do with that anymore. People still don't want to accept it. It's all about what you do in the portal and evaluating and spending that money, which Tech will have a lot of. Prometheus, I want a guy who can evaluate and develop players. Coming from another program, coming from a group of 5. Somebody who's eager to be here. They have respect for the past. Don't dwell on the past. Right? What's the old saying? If you dwell on the past, you lose an eye. If you forget the past, you go blind. You lose both eyes. I want someone who understands the way the modern game is evolving, that will jump headfirst into understanding that your team every year is going to change 30 to 40 players. How can we maximize our talent evaluators? Let's surround ourselves with people who understand that we need to find players that fit what we want to do and also fit what Virginia Tech's about. It's a hard job, but that's what I'm looking for. I want innovations. I want guys who can make adjustments and not freak out when somebody smacks them back in the face during a game, but they can go, okay, game plan number one is not working. This happens in the NFL all the time. Bill Walsh had 5 or 6 game plans. Now, he's Bill Walsh. We'll talk to Phil Elmassian about this. Okay, they have stopped that, so let's go to this package. Let's go to this series. Let's go to the – okay, let's keep going. James Franklin is gone. Mike Norvell is going to be gone. Florida State is not going to tolerate another losing season, and all of a sudden it looks like that's where they're headed. Pitt went in there and smacked them around in the fourth quarter. I watched that. Florida State is going to be making the next big splash move in college football. From 2-10 to opening up the season with that big win against Alabama. Alabama must be going, what in the world? How did we lose that? Florida State looks bad right now. Mike Norvell is in a lot of trouble, Tallahassee. Another massive buyout, but hey. So there you go. Devil's advocate. I showed you the graphic. Is that what you want in Blacksburg? Another guy who can't win big games or close games. I believe that is 100% correct, Wayne. UVA broke FSU. Yes, Alan, that is. Big Al, that's it. You have to live by the portal. If you don't do it right, you're going to die by the portal. It's simple. And all the folks who are looking at James Franklin, oh, he's got the recruiting ties. Okay. What does that mean? How many freshmen are going to come in? How many are going to stay? And how many are going to contribute now? Virginia Cavaliers, yeah, they're 18th in the country now. I'm telling you, if you want to get really, if Tech fan wants to really get sideways and what's been allowed to happen over there in Blacksburg, you don't need to look any further than about 2.5 hours technically up the road, even though you go down the road and around to go to Charlottesville. Tony Elliott, Brent Pry hired at the exact same time. Both had to have make it or break it year 4s. Brent Pry starts 0-3. He's fired. Tony Elliott and UVA, whose fans have about as much passion for football, right, as animals do when you want to bathe them. First time Tony Elliott had dedicated money to go hit the portal, the NIL money. The first time, really. They go and they nail it. He was a keen talent evaluator at Clemson as the OC. He was the one that went out and found Trevor Lawrence and those skilled players. It's one of the reasons that he was a hot coaching commodity. Apparently, now that he has a budget, it's coming through a little bit in year 4. He's going to get a contract extension. It's inevitable. But yet James Franklin, and I'm telling you right now, you talk to Power 4 coaches, they don't have a lot of respect for that guy to begin with, for reasons. But okay. How dedicated would he be? Let's just go from that standpoint. Let's say he is a viable candidate. When he's got that much money in his bank account, is he going to be motivated? Does he care enough about his legacy to come to Blacksburg and pay the Virginia Tech job and its fans the respect it deserves? Paul says the bad news is there's a lot more teams that need coaches, and Tech's going to be fighting for that. Yeah, and there's going to be more jobs too. There's going to be more jobs that are going to come open. FSU likely is going to come open if their trajectory continues. Prometheus, if Tech keeps waiting around, who are they going to hire now? They don't have the committee. The committee can't even agree when they're going to be able to meet. They've decided to go by committee, yet the committee is not even functioning. How are they going to go out and talk? Who are they going to hire? Again, I asked the question, who is out there now that you want other than James Franklin? I mean, I'm asking. I don't know the answer to it. I think the worst thing you can do is panic and rush the process just because, oh, no, we have to compete. Well, I've been told that this Virginia Tech job is one of the top 2 or 3 jobs that's going to be on the market. So, therefore, they shouldn't have to panic over potential candidates. They're going to have the money they need to be competitive. So why is there this mindset, and I see it a lot, that all of a sudden Tech, watch out, you got competition? Well, hell yes, you're going to have competition. Dan Mullen's not leaving Vegas. I don't know. The one coach has the same agent that I talked to as Dan Mullen, the same agent. He loves Vegas. His wife loves Vegas. Maybe that would change, but right now, he doesn't want to leave Vegas. Yeah, Franklin's agent is going to be playing teams against each other. Who's going to play? Who's going to fall for that? And that guy has the personality. You've seen it. He's a very high maintenance guy. He's not media friendly. He's not a guy that he thinks an awful lot of himself. You're going to be bringing in a lot of the same mindset that Justin Fuente had when he was hired here. You're going to have to deal with that. Again, Penn State said, "Thank you, Coach." They turned off the comments. There's not one Penn State fan today that's like, "Oh, I can't believe we didn't keep James Franklin." Fan reaction and the way they're responding to when they lose a coach, even a big-name coach like that, should kind of give you some clue. Pat Fitzgerald's never happening, Wayne. You keep talking about Pat Fitzgerald is put himself in a situation where he could be a coordinator somewhere. But that hazing incident is going to follow him for many, many, many years. And you talk about going out and having to find players in the portal. They're going to be reminded about what happened at Northwestern, and he was smack dab in the middle of it. So you can keep up with the Pat Fitzgerald thing all you want, but can you imagine the backlash? But anyway, there you go. So the early consensus is we'll talk to Brian Seigla about this as well. We'll talk to Brian Seigla about this and get his take on James Franklin. Ryan Oliver, if Silverfield can collect talent at Memphis, and he has, he could do it at Tech. Yes. I just think people are blinded by a name that has failed somewhere else. I think what's really surprising me in this, seriously, in all seriousness, I'm just surprised that so many Tech people are immediately, every time a coach who has failed somewhere else becomes available, that candidate becomes number one in their eyes for many fans, not to everybody. If he couldn't do it there, why do you think he's going to come to Blacksburg and then do it? And you could end up being right. But I'm just talking about going into it. Penn State wanted to get rid of him so badly, they were willing to pay a $50 million buyout. Let that sink in a little bit. But there were about 30 messages that, hey, this is a no-brainer. We got to go get him. Okay. Careful what you wish for. Again, Brent Pry emulated his entire coaching style after James Franklin. That was his coaching. That's the guy that he used as his example. What he learned from James Franklin at Vanderbilt, Penn State, he brought to Blacksburg. And where is he now? I think the worst thing you can do is react because other things are happening that don't necessarily relate to what Virginia Tech needs to do. You think Bruce Arians and Bud Foster are panicking right now? No. There's confidence. I have confidence in those two guys at the very least. I don't know anything else about the other committee, and I have a lot of respect for Eddie Royal. I don't know how he's going to fall into the committee. But I know one thing. Bruce Arians and Bud Foster know what the hell a head coach at Virginia Tech should look like. So from that standpoint, it doesn't matter. And we're going to get into all this with Phil Elmassian, who still has contacts with all these coaches. He knows. And we'll get his take on all that. I can't wait for that. Yeah, sure, David. Call the North Dakota State head coach. Yeah. Or if he reaches out, reciprocate. Talk to him. And that's what I'm saying. Talk to him. I like that, Morris. Don't fall for the old cliche, failure is an event, not a person. Sometimes it is a person. No, I do not, Wayne. As a matter of fact, I know that not to be true. That the first choice for the AD turned it down. There's no offers. I mean, the whole thing they were working on was trying to figure out a way for Witt to stay on. And apparently that's going to happen. No. That's just no. I mean, if that had been true, I mean, you think about when this timeline happened. All people have to do is really think about it. Brent Pry was fired the day after, right? The day after. You think they would have just waited if they had offered somebody else? No, they've never had the mindset that they were going to fire Whit Babcock, at least the people that make the decisions, President Sands and company. And that has surprised a lot of people. But from the people I talked to, I would have been told that a while back if that had been the case. So, no. And I still don't know what's going to happen there. I don't know. People are asking. I don't know. I haven't heard any update. Apparently, they're just going to go with this plan, and he's going to hang on. Yes, originally October 9th was the real date. Yes, that is correct. And therefore, the money ask from a certain group of people is going to be very difficult now. See, David, that's my thinking. Why would James Franklin even try to get back into coaching next year? He's going to take a year off, maybe 2. I would. I mean, he's going to be a very, very wealthy man. I think he might get into television. He seems to have that kind of personality. He loves to hear himself talk. But, here's how you can judge it as well. Let's see what kind of market develops. Let's see what kind of rumors develop for James Franklin. Are we going to hear about other Power 4 programs right now who are lining up to get him? Let's just see how it plays out. I think that'll tell us more than anything. Yeah, correct, Joseph. You watch very closely South Carolina over the next month. That's what I said in the open. It's a bad sign for any head coach the morning after a game and you're firing a coach. Shane Beamer fired his offensive line coach, his handpicked coach. Because even if that needed to be done, that's looked at as scapegoating. And that means that by the way, people forget, there's a brand new AD down at South Carolina who is fired the hell up about football. Shane Beamer, not his hire. That didn't come just from Shane Beamer. So, yes, keep an eye out on what's going on there. Yeah, yeah, it's true, Wayne. So Keel Peel, what is it? Peel and Key, whatever it is, the comedic team. Yeah, Keegan Michael Key does a great James Franklin. Maybe he should come into Blacksburg. Yeah, he does do a nice James Franklin. Think about this. 15 days ago, Penn State was ranked in the top 5. I saw this graphic. He was sitting there on game day. Oh, hey, I'm James Franklin. 15 days later, what are they? 3-3, and he's fired. That's how quickly the world changes in college football, where you have to win. What are there now? 9 jobs open in Division I? 9, 8 or 9? Okay. The worst mindset I think you can have if you're Virginia Tech is all of a sudden to panic. They don't need to rush anything. If they're going to go by this committee and they put it together, and I don't know what's going on. I hear a lot of interesting things about this committee. You don't need to panic. The Tech job is very attractive. It's going to be able to attract the kind of coach and enough candidates. These agents, you're going to hear a lot of crap over the next 2 months, however long it takes. They're going to put their clients into every position. Every position. So you're going to hear a lot of names, and you're going to hear a lot of stuff. So it's up to you whether or not you want to believe them, or are you just going to fall for it or not. Just keep an eye out. You start to know when things come together with jobs. You do. You start to know. When enough people start kind of on the right people, like on X, and I think that's why I hang on X, it's really a cesspool. The artist formerly known as Twitter. Because everybody just wants to put everybody down and make mean comments. But the experts on there know, and they break news before you get it from anybody else. Jimmy Rogers, Morris says, national championship winner as a player and coach. He's at Washington State right now. Yeah, that's right. You're right, David. It is. It's the loud minority. That's a tough place. That's a tough place. But they do have very good information. They do. They have very good information from the people that are actually covering sports. And that's why I keep it. It's a tough world to navigate over on X. It is very difficult. So 8 coaches now fired. Trent Dilfer got fired yesterday at UAB. That is deemed a very attractive group of 5 job. It is. They've got a lot of money dedicated. That one kind of snuck under the radar after the James Franklin news. But he lost that team. And that's the other thing, too. That team completely quit on him. They quit against UCLA. And how they went to Michigan State and just blew the doors off Sparty, I don't know. You talk about a team being inspired by the firing of their head coach. Look no further than UCLA. It's madness. But getting back to the Georgia Tech game, I did see the effort. Much more than I saw against Wake in the second half, but I really saw those kids playing hard. So that's a victory for Philip Montgomery. He's keeping them engaged. And I think anybody who was there, I haven't had time to go back and read what Andy Bitter may have said, anything like that. But I think anybody who was there saw Tech play hard. And I think you can appreciate that because these are guys getting a chance. These are guys who have not given up on the season. And that says a hell of a lot for this current Virginia Tech coaching staff who won't be here next year. And Philip Montgomery, he's doing a really good job with this team. He's doing the best job that he could possibly do, I think, with this team. Hokey Bob, let's see. I can lay on the beach and play golf with my $50 million, or I can take a job for $10+ million per year and have to work 90 hours a week. And if I don't win, I'm going to be on the hot seat again. And that's what I don't know. So you can't evaluate what goes on in these folks' mind and what their motivations are. James Franklin's motivation is a lot about himself. Is he eager to say, oh my gosh, I failed at Penn State. I want to get back out there and show people I can do this. And I'll just tell you right now, if I were James Franklin and I'd gotten fired at Penn State and I was getting $50 million, the last thing I'd be thinking about doing is jumping back into coaching the next year. I'd take a deep breath, maybe do some self-evaluation as to what's going on with my career. And if I do decide to get back into it, what might I do differently now in the age of the portal? What might I do to say, okay, what kind of problem did I cause for myself? Again, that hyphenated word, self-awareness. And sit there and just do kind of a study on how I went about being a coach. I don't think he needs to rush into it at all. Yes, his ego, whoever, if he does decide to coach and someone hires him, they're going to have to deal with, let's just say this way, James Franklin loves him some James Franklin. How does that work here? We've already had an example of that a couple coaches ago. But you see, the reason I also say Tech doesn't need to panic, I have a lot of faith that the Virginia Tech job is really attractive. Now, I don't know. I see all these rankings. There's no way the Tech job is better than Penn State. It's no way that it's better than Arkansas. It's probably on the same level as Oklahoma State. But it's going to be one of the top 5 jobs, of course, depending on what happens. All of a sudden, if Florida State makes a move, if their season keeps going, Florida State's going to rise up. It doesn't matter where people rank them. It's a damn good opportunity. Tech doesn't need to panic because it's got a great situation right there with this money coming in to offer a new head coach in the age of it. So I don't think the mentality that Tech has to hurry things. Tech's worthy. They are very worthy. This is a good job with an outstanding fan base that will engage and wrap their arms around you if you do things the right way and show progress. You come to Virginia Tech, they're not going to expect you all of a sudden to win 10 games every year and be in the top 20. They just want to see this program on the uptick to potentially get back to that level that Coach Beamer had it. Tech fans are very loyal, but they also are smart. They understand when they see something that's not working. They just want to see somebody that wants to work with the community and the program. Yes, because it's the ACC in the current makeup, you can come in and win quicker at Tech than to go through the Arkansas gauntlet. But Tech's not a better job than Arkansas. Yes, you are right. Jimmy, Trent Dilfer got fired at UAB yesterday, and somebody else got fired. So there's 8 or 9 now. I'm not sure where it is. There's 8 or 9. We want to thank all of our sponsors, Professional Incorporated, Travis Williams, Commercial Garage Doors, family-owned and operated, been in business 38 years. Give them a call. Hung out with all the National Bank people Saturday night at the big function over at the Inn of Virginia Tech. It was great. Food was great. Lara Ramsey, thanks for the invite. Exclusive banking partner, BDST. Been with them for 35 years. Lara's going to do a great job as the new CEO. Her husband, Sean, just great people. Great people. By the way, I told him yesterday, but happy birthday, Brian Steinspring, and what a win they had to bounce back. That's 4 wins on the season for Roanoke College. You get him, Steiny. Ryan Pry, the attorney, 701 West Main Street in Radford, Trust and Estate Planning, our BDST fan question of the week. We'll unveil that later on today. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. Give them a call, 540-553-2971. Each and every day, I'm proud to say that we're presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. A lot more stuff coming up there this week. We're going to have people on this week. That's my goal anyway, if it works with their schedule. Let's put it this way. My goal is to have those folks on. Mark Hunley at McClellan Chiropractic. Right off of Peppers Ferry Road, they get a brand new building, the latest technology. If you've had trouble with your back and you've gone to other chiropractors, go see Mark. You will not ever go to another chiropractor. Guy's the best, man. It's crazy, the stuff that he has over there. Jason Green, all the folks at Family Fencing Studios, 540-200-8294. Free quotes, free everything. Go see them. FamilyFencingNRV.com. Payment options and all those things. Thanks to Lawson's Mobile Home Supply, 300 North Franklin Street in Christiansburg. Give James Lawson a call, 540-381-8011. They do windows, doors, plumbing supplies, and the NRV Super Bowl. We'll get an update on their bowler of the week. 25 years. They got boogie bowling coming because it's Halloween. Go see them. Go see them. Thanks to all the folks who make this program possible by helping us out with your sponsorship. Wayne's very angry to see the new Bronco edition on my wall. Yeah, that's one of those old. I've had that since I was a little kid. Those are very rare, by the way. The Broncos platter. I found it on top of one of my closets, so I hung it up. You know, after that really inspiring 13-11 win yesterday in England against the Jets. Oregon State. There you go, Tootie. Yeah, Oregon State fired the coach. That was the other P4 job. They're 0-7. David says, Tech fans would be happy with contending for an ACC title every few years, an upper-tier bowl, and beating UVA. Dude could have another 10 to 15-year run. That's right. Tech fans are fair. But nobody at Penn State Nation is upset about the move that was made yesterday. That's why they turned off the comments on their thank you, coach post. Wow. No, not yet, Brandon. Shirts are coming in hopefully the end of next week. A lot of people are asking. I checked with Brandon. They're getting it done. So thanks to them. Brian Seigla coming up in about 15 minutes. And then Phil Elmassian, the coach. And we'll ask him about all this stuff. because that guy's as clued in as anybody, as is this next gentleman. He is the sports director at WFXR. His name's Jermaine Ferrell. Good morning, Jermaine. How are you?
Well, good morning, sir. How are you?
Hanging in there, man. Hanging in there. Hope you are. Man, a lot going on, huh? A lot going on in the world of college.
Not much going on in the sports world, as they say. Yes, indeed, yeah. Got a lot of stuff going on, but it's that time of the year. And what's neat, you got the NBA getting ready to start up, Major League Baseball playoffs are rocking, NHL, NFL. So this is kind of the
it's all here.
crossover season with all the sports getting ready to go.
Well, let's talk about what you thought about the Tech game. I was just talking about it. They played hard. I went back and watched. I got home late from all the Raptor stuff this weekend. I was like, you know what? They were clearly not the better team, but they had a heck of an effort. But Georgia Tech's pretty good. Haynes King's really good. They jumped out on them. But if nothing else, Philip Montgomery has that team caring. And I think given everything that's happened, that's a heck of an accomplishment.
That's the thing. I think the game against Georgia Tech, you're right about that. They played as hard as they could, but at the end of the day, when you just don't have all the tools in the toolbox, as they say, it was going to be a tough one. And I think that's where it is. I mean, if they're still playing hard, giving effort, then that's really all you can ask for. Someone just said, "Rick, you have trash on your wall."
Yeah, they didn't like my Bronco. You can't see it when the screen. They don't like my Bronco because Wayne's a Browns fan. He's a Browns fan, and he got mad at the Broncos and John Elway in the '80s for the 3 losses in the title.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you look at Cleveland, probably 2 athletes they hate more than anybody else is John Elway and
John Elway. Yeah.
Those are the 2. If you say, "Hey, who do you hate the most?" It's probably those
There's
2.
no question. No question.
And well, actually, you would think they'd hate Ernest Biner. He was the one that fumbled.
He's the one that fumbled, right?
That's not John Elway's fault. I mean, John
No.
Elway. And the thing is, you can't get mad at John Elway. He drove the team down 98 yards.
98 yards against the dog pound, right?
And if you could, I mean, the thing is, eventually your defense, you would think your defense could hold someone that far back.
Right.
No
Right?
offense against you, Wayne K. But Cleveland. And I love Cleveland. I love the Browns. I think they were a cool team in the '80s. They were a team that could have done something. I mean, they probably look back and I know a lot of Cleveland Browns fans. They probably hate the Ravens even more because that was their team.
They hate Art Rodell more than anything.
So
God rest his soul.
Yeah, and I think that's really the biggest thing. I mean, of course, Michael Jordan, what he did in the playoffs of Cleveland was tough. So, overall, in a couple of weeks, the Cowboys do play at Denver. But we don't know how that game's going to turn out.
No, we don't.
But let's circle it back. You were talking about Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
I think that, and they have a big one this Friday. I think it's going to be an electric atmosphere. Not this Friday, the following Friday, because they have a bye.
Right.
Which is probably something they really need to get these injuries and everything else healed up because they've had a lot of injuries and they're kind of thin with players going into the portal and just not having the bodies. So this is probably the perfect time for them to catch their breath and see where they are. And because right now, you're sitting at 2-5 and, that's a tough spot to be, because basically you'd almost have to, you need 4 wins to even become bowl eligible. And I know that's probably the last thing on, Virginia Tech's mind maybe, but to get 4 wins, that's a lot to ask for this ball club. But if they can get there, they can get there. So, anything can happen. Now, that schedule's pretty tough on the back end, where you got Miami, Virginia on the back end, 2 tough teams there. They're playing pretty well. The Florida State game, I mean, even though they've kind of taken a tumble recently, that could be a tough game. So you got some games. Cal is not going to be an easy game. So you got games coming up that will be interesting to see how they play. But I think they're really playing. Tech is playing as hard as they can. It's just
they are.
When other teams are better than you, that doesn't matter. And there's no. You really don't have any alibis. If you say this team was better than you and you played as hard as you could, there's not much you can say. So you got to give them. Got to give them a lot of credit for what they're doing in Blacksburg.
Yeah, I do. I know, and people are going to say that's a moral victory, but you know what? You got to take the kind of victories you can get. That team could have cashed it in, and those coaches could have cashed it in, but it's not what's happening. I mean, it's just reality. And I think you can take some solace in that. You really can. The way they're going out and approaching it, I really do.
Hey, maybe you should have Wayne K on your show. See,
you get Wayne on here.
Talk about in Denver.
We own the bye week.
Yeah, that'd be fun. You know, so Wayne K says we own the bye week. Yeah, you should get. Yeah, Wayne K, if you're out there, you should be on the show. Y'all could talk about Denver, Cleveland, 80s football, because that was pretty cool. Though. I tell you, there were. You know, it's funny that I remember. I think NBA TV did the greatest teams not to win a championship. I mean, if you think about it, you look in the 80s. Those Milwaukee Bucks teams, I mean, but you're in the East with Philly and Detroit and even
they were good.
Yes, but I mean that was a great team that didn't win one. Those Pacers teams of the '90s, they were great teams. But I remember they did that. They looked at teams, the great teams. Yeah. You know, the Hawks were good in the '80s.
You're right about those Bucks teams. You hit it on the head. Those Bucks teams were really good. I know. So Terry Cummings,
yeah. So there were teams that were so good, it was just the East was loaded.
Couldn't break through,
Couldn't break through, and and then you look at the the '90s Jordan era. I mean, think about those Knicks teams and those Pacer teams, and obviously Houston was rocking the scene those 2 years. Although I always love to talk to people and say with Houston. Could Houston? It is always going to be a great debate.
Yeah, it is.
Houston teams beat the Bulls teams, and really, if you look at those Bulls teams, they went up against teams, and down the East, they were always challenged by teams that had a great center. I mean, Shaq was good. You also had Patrick Ewing, so they struggled against teams with good centers. Rick Smits, but in the NBA Finals, they never really faced a team with a great center. If you notice, the Lakers, he was decent. Then you look at Portland, Kevin Duckworth was a decent center, but he wasn't like the great one. And then you look at the Phoenix teams. I mean, they had, I think, Oliver Miller was playing center, and then, Utah. I mean, Greg Ostertag, was he a great center? No. So you look at some of those teams, and it was just those Bulls teams. But then you went up against Olajuwon, and Olajuwon was just the man.
Oh my gosh!
Woo! That was just so
he was in a different plane. He was Jordan-esque during that time at that position. He did things that we've never seen. The athleticism that he had, along with the dominance of that post. I mean, you're right. He's my all-time favorite Rocket player, along with Moses Malone. That's why I was a Rockets fan, because of Moses Malone. He was from Petersburg, Virginia, right? So. And Hakeem Olajuwon, oh my gosh, they're in that time. Remember when they gave David Robinson the MVP award in the Western Finals, and Hakeem went down there and just absolutely embarrassed him?
And then those were centers. I mean, think about just so many great centers. I mean, gosh, you really don't talk about the center position that much in the NBA.
Not anymore, no.
But back in the day, you had to have. The key was you had to have a center. Back in the day, of course, you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Then Robert Parrish, and Brad Dottie, which I actually saw him last night on the NASCAR race. He's more of a NASCAR expert than an NBA guy. He probably could do both for NBC if he needed to. But yeah, those centers back in the day, I loved it. I love those centers.
Oh, such a great time for basketball.
It was fun. It's when you back them in, That's why, you see, you go to the rec league, see those old school guys out there with the gray socks pulled up to their kneecaps. Yeah. They're out there just backing kids in. Because a lot of the young kids out, they don't know what it was to have those centers. Those young kids out there, do you see the center out there?
Yeah, I know.
What's a center, Kind of like what's a running back or something.
I know. Thank God the running backs are coming back. Yeah,
they're coming back.
They're coming back. Hey, real quick, high school from Friday night. Some big results. Your team there's some teams around here that are just motoring on through the season as if they're already preparing for the postseason. We have 3 weeks left now, we're getting there.
3 weeks. Yeah, and then some of the regional points have come out, and it's real close. And there's a lot of teams that are. You look at those regional points, and it is going to be those if the the seedings hold up. I mean, right now, if you look at, and I'll start from the top, work my way down. But if you look at first of all in region 5C, Patrick Henry. I mean, barring anything crazy. Now, the only thing is, again, if they run the table, which they'll probably be favored to do their next 3 games. I mean, they could be the number 1 seed in Region 5C again, like they were a couple of years ago. And guess who is sitting at number 8 at this moment? The William Fleming Crows.
Yeah, so you could have on the edge, baby.
Again, you could have another. Remember 2 years ago, Fleming knocked off PH in the playoffs, and really, what's neat, this region is so centric toward Richmond. A lot of the Richmond teams. But you could have the 3rd straight year a Roanoke City school could be the number 1 seed in that region. And then you look at Region 4D, and right now Blacksburg's in the 8 hole. But then up top, it's George Washington and JF kind of battling it in, lurking in the weeds a little bit of Shenandoah. So they're kind of lurking. And right now, I mean, not Shenandoah, Sharando, sorry. So you have Sharando kind of in the back. And remember, they're the defending regional champions. And so you have that. And then you look at Region 3D, which is another loaded region. Lord Botetourt and actually Magna Vista leads the region, but you have Lord Botetourt, William Byrd, and then you also have Bassett kind of right there. So that's your top 4. And then it's underneath, Northside and all of them that are battling in the region. And then you look at Region 3D. Allegheny is leading the region, but right behind Allegheny is Liberty Christian. So they're real close battling for that top seed. Region 2C, it's Glenbury and Floyd County that's rocking the scene. Carroll County's looking good. Floyd is undefeated. So
how about the Buffs? That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And to see them playing well. And then you go down to the multiple regions in Region 1C, even though you got some teams that are loaded. I mean, Craig County, 6-0 for the first time in school history. I mean, you talk about a neat story. And Jeremy Haymore, former head coach at Stanton River, is helping them. Basically, he's helping them install that single wing, the Giles single wing, which we talk about with Bandana Express. I mean, Jeremy Haymore is really doing well with that. And then, like I said, so that region is loaded. I mean, Perry McClure is looking pretty good. Giles, how about Giles just playing lights out football? So Region 1C is loaded, and you can't count out Grayson County. You also look at these teams. So the playoffs are going to be fun, and we still have about a month to go, roughly. You roughly got, because we're entering week number 8 to 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have 4 weeks left. Anything could change, and now you're in district play. You got regional action. So you got a lot of games, Rick, that are going to shuffle up the deck a little bit. You have teams playing each other. Also, Heritage in Region 3C is looking good. So you got a lot of stuff going on, Rick, and the high school playoffs are just going to be fun. If you thought the regular season matchups were great, wait till you get to the playoffs. It's going to be some fun.
I know. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun. Well, all right, man. Enjoy the doubleheader night NFL. They keep competing against each other. I don't know why they're doing that, but hey, 2 games tonight anyway.
I don't think I know you might look at me like I'm nuts when I say this. That's not a bad thing because it gives you options. I mean,
yeah.
And you got a game, and it's no different than what they do on Sundays. I mean, they have that going on. The only standalones you have really are Sunday night football. And also, real quick with NASCAR, shout out to Denny Hamlin, Chesterfield native. I know you're not a big NASCAR guy.
Used to be, not anymore. Used to be.
He has he's locked himself a spot in the championship 4, and then obviously we got a couple of weeks till we get Martinsville, and that's going to be fun. So a lot of racing. They're in their playoffs, so they're getting down to the nitty gritty. So we'll see who goes there.
It's coming. Well, man, listen, you have a great week. We'll talk a little later in the week, man, and appreciate you as always.
You too. Appreciate you, and congratulations to all the Radford Highlander.
What a night!
Hall of Famers, including Coach Jones and Miss Pebbles. Congratulations to all of them.
What a night!
Hall of Fame.
Thank you. Yeah,
good
got
job.
to hang out with Brian Stith. It was awesome. What a great night!
What you talk about a heck of a ball player? What about him at UVA?
Oh, he's on Mike Snaff down at UCG now. You talk about a great guy, Brian Stith. Oh my Lord!
I've talked to him before, and Brian Stith.
What a player! What a player!
Such an awesome guy. Good ball player. Yes,
he is. All right, brother. Have a great week, man. Stay safe. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care.
Man. All right, good job. There you go, Jermaine Ferrell. Good stuff. Yeah, I got to meet Brian Stith. Mike's people think so much of Mike. His current staff at UNCG made the trip all the way up to support him on his Hall of Fame night. Brian Stith's on that staff. Anybody remembers Brian Stith? Yeah. Phil Elmassian comes up in just a little bit. I'm excited now because Brian Seigla is joining us from the Boundary Corner. Really wanted to talk to him this morning about a lot of things. First of all, Brian, good morning, by the way. Good to see you.
Good morning, Rick. Good start to the morning, unless you're a Hokies fan. But you know what? It's all right. We still move.
Got
to
right.
represent the victory life a little bit this morning. You know.
Love it. Looks great. All right. First of all, the game. They were outclassed. I think Haynes King might be. You could look at all the quarterbacks in the country. He's on the short list. But one thing I saw, Brian, I want to see if you agree. It really stood out to me. I didn't get to watch the game live because I was doing games all weekend at Radford homecoming stuff. But it was on my TV. I went back. The effort was there. They played really hard. I didn't see guys dogging it, and I think that's the one thing Phil Montgomery has done. He's got this team buying in every week. Throw away what the season means because they know what it means. But even Kyron Drones, who's not what anybody wanted him to be, who when he came to Blacksburg, he's playing hard. They're trying to make this thing work. They were just outclassed. Do you see the same thing when you're watching Tech play?
Yeah, and I think that's the frustrating thing is because I think we saw at the start of the season that there was some talent on this team and the effort wasn't there. And I think what we've seen as the season has gone along is that we're starting to get the effort, but I think we just don't have some of the right pieces. The things are not connecting the way that they need to connect in order to put a good string of wins together for the Hokies. Whether it's, Kyron Drones' play, whether it's the offensive line really not giving him all the time that he needs at times, whether it's scheme-wise, whether it's game plan-wise, where we went into Georgia Tech and really passed the ball more in the first half than we probably should have, and then I think really kind of found our rhythm in the running game in the second half and made it a little bit more of a competitive outcome at the end, and we got to a point there where you make one more play, you at least get it down to a one-score game and try to kick an onside and see what happens there, or can you hold them, get the ball back? I think the problem that we ran into is that we let their offense be way too efficient. You look at Haynes King, 20 of 24 pass attempts. I mean, he's a gamer, as you said. He's a good player, but he probably isn't your most efficient passer in the country. And we let him be a very efficient passer for the majority of that game on Saturday.
Bye week's coming at a good time. Maybe they can get some guys healthy, especially across that offensive line. Wayne just pointed out it was going to be my next point. The O-line has not been good. It was one of the things that helped bring down Brent Price's tenure, and it's not consistent. But to your point, they were running the football, and I thought it was kind of strange, a little bit. Kyron Drones is better when he has that ability to run too. So I think you're right. They kind of started the game a little weird from that standpoint, offensively.
Yeah, and you got yourself behind, 18 points before you really kind of settled in there. You had a pretty decent opening drive. Kyron gets a little nicked up. Things got to go a little south there, and next thing they're putting more points on the board, and you're really having to get a little bit out of your game plan. I think maybe we panicked from a scheme standpoint a little earlier than we needed to because of that.
Yeah.
And we kind of came out in the second half and settled in a little bit. Even though we weren't necessarily, throwing points on the board, it felt more like what I thought we should be doing from the start of the game against this Georgia Tech team. Because what they were trying to do is, they wanted to shorten the game a little bit. They wanted to ball control, use the short passing game to their advantage. And they did a good job with that on the Georgia Tech side. And we didn't do a ton to stop that. We only had, I think, really a handful of drives where I felt really good about the defense overall. But the effort was there. So I can't really fault them too much. And then we had, our man Jerishus Hairston with 2 touchdowns there. He's like Chris Carter. All he does is catch touchdowns.
That's right. That's exactly right. Brian Seigla joined us from the Boundary Corner podcast. I know, Wayne. I know you don't like my Broncos stuff. All right.
Hey,
So look,
I'm familiar with Wayne. We see Wayne on our show as well. So what's up?
Yeah, he's angry that I have Broncos stuff up because of he's a Browns fan.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I know
Wayne.
exactly. So he's got to stay with that. Let's talk about the other thing going on, because I tell you, boy, James Franklin got fired yesterday, and I bet you I got 30 messages. Oh my goodness, what's Tech waiting on? They got to go get James Franklin. Got to go get James. Did I lose you?
I'm back. I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, that's something happened on my end there. But what's your thought about that? What's your thoughts about James Franklin?
The biggest problem with James Franklin, I think, from a Hokie standpoint, is that we just fired his protege. In a lot of ways, I mean, for the longest time, Brent Pry was attached to James Franklin's hip. And now we get rid of a coach, and you've got James Franklin kind of waiting in the wings here, coming off a Penn State situation where he wasn't very happy with the outcome there, and the fan base started to turn on him because he couldn't win the big games. And I'm fine with the James Franklin from a standpoint of we haven't been winning the little games yet, so bring in somebody that can recruit, that can win football games that they probably should on a pretty consistent basis. Again, the problem is that the same thing with anyone that is yelling at me saying, I think Ryan Silverfield would be a good choice. And we're like, well, I don't want another Memphis guy. Well, okay, well, maybe you don't want another guy that has a relationship with Brent Pry. So that's my biggest beef with James Franklin.
Well, I just think it's people are panicking, and they're like, oh my goodness, they have to hire someone. I'm like, okay, who's it going to be? Is it going to be somebody who failed miserably? By the way, Penn State fan wanted him gone so badly, they put "Thank you, Coach" up yesterday, and they cut off the comments on the X on the Penn State football account. I'm like, ooh. I mean, Tech just wants everybody else's trash, if you will. This program deserves. They can take their time. It's a good job. It's a great job. They don't have to rush just because other jobs are coming open, do they? I don't think so.
I don't think they have to rush. I mean, I think, some of the benefit is that of firing your coach, first or second or whatever we were, is that you can make your list. You can weigh your candidates. You already know that you've got the money coming in, so you don't have to worry about, can we offer anybody what it's going to take. I feel like with a couple of exceptions, we can make the money work. So it's really about finding the guy that's going to work the best for Virginia Tech. Now, whether that's Franklin, whether that's a guy like Dan Mullen, if we can get him out of Las Vegas,
yes,
or whether that's somebody else in that list. I think the biggest thing is going to be who is the right fit to get Virginia Tech back to what I think their goal is, and I think the goal is 8 wins every year, full stop. Punch up, get 10 or 11, every 2 to 3 years, be consistent, get to the ACC championship on a semi-regular basis, and see what happens once you get in the playoff. Because usually if you're going to make it to one of those championship games, you have a pretty decent likelihood of getting in the playoffs. So I think that's really the long-term goal for Virginia Tech, and finding the coach that can do that for you is the most important thing right now.
I agree. Tech fans are great fans. They're some of the best in the country. The way they've supported this, what's happened in the last 8 years shows that. But they're also reasonable. They're not expecting somebody to come in all of a sudden win 10 games. They just want to see steady progress, build the program back, somebody who encompasses everything that they, in their minds, what Tech football is. And then they're going to expect things, but they want to see slow progression, see somebody handle the portal the right way, develop players out of the portal. That they're not unrealistic. That's another reason I think that makes this job a really attractive job for these coaches, and why they don't have to worry as much as people are worrying about, oh my goodness, this job's coming open. Well, guess what? Florida State might be coming open here in a few weeks, right? Or at the end of the year. Just wait, let it play out, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think what we don't want to get to, the point we don't want to get to as Virginia Tech fans, is just being okay with 6 wins and a victory against that team in Charlottesville. And I feel like that's kind of where the program is right now, and probably won't be this year, but it's where they are right now in terms of, output from both Fuente and now from Pry. Looking at those eras combined, that's really kind of the expectation that people had, even if they wanted more, that they weren't necessarily expecting to get more in return for that. And I think, we need to get a coach in here that at least can reset those expectations from a realistic standpoint, not just I hope we can win 10. I hope we can, do bigger things than just make a bowl and beat UVA. Because while those things are nice, there are, benefits obviously that come from those things. Virginia Tech as a program needs to be better than that. And that's going to be important, not only now, but when you look at, where the ACC is and potential realignment. Putting out a good product every year is going to be important for Virginia Tech, just because they don't necessarily have some of the other sport kudos that, maybe some of the other attractive schools may have at this point. So you gotta get football where it needs to be, because that's going to be an important piece of the puzzle come realignment.
And I try to remind people, I was trying to respond as many people as I could about it. I don't know much about the other 6 people on the committee. I'll include Eddie Royal, let's say the other 5, but I don't believe that you're going to see Bruce Arians or Bud Foster panicking over to other jobs coming. They're going to go about this process. If anybody knows what a good coach at Virginia Tech is supposed to look like, it's those 2 guys. And I think you can probably say the same thing, but Eddie will be able to help too. Now, because that's the football people. So I'm trusting at least the football side of the committee to absorb all this and to not leave any stone unturned. So I think the worst thing you could do is be reactive instead of just saying, you know what, we got a plan. We've got people already interested. We're going to talk to as many people possible. And I think Tech fan needs to understand that this is going to be a wide net they're going to cast, a wide net.
Yeah, and I think when we look at that committee, you've got the football people and you've got kind of the money people, and I feel like in college football now you've got to be at least a little bit of both. You got to be kind of a CEO, and you also have to be able to go out there and win football games and coach football games and be able to evaluate talent. So there's going to be 2 aspects of that, and I feel like when you look at the last 2 head coaches for Virginia Tech, Fuente was pretty good at the latter, and Brent Pry was pretty good at the former.
That's a great point.
We didn't have one full head coach between the 2 of them. Yeah. So maybe you get a committee together that's looking for both of those aspects at one time. Maybe you get the right candidate.
No, that's perfect. I think that's very well said. You're right. They had the right candidate if you put them both together, but that doesn't work that way. Yep. All right, well, you guys are going to be meeting. Let people know I can't wait to hear these discussions this week.
Yeah, we're actually going tonight. We're gonna kind of recap Georgia Tech a little bit, and then we're gonna open things up similar like we did after Brent Pry was fired, and we're gonna talk about let the fans let us know who do they want to bring in here. I know the committee's kind of working through it. As you said, we're not going to rush this thing, but I think we want to start getting some names out there of who folks are targeting. I've got my eye on Dan Mullen right now, but I'll elaborate a little bit more on that tonight. But you know what? It's going to be a lot of fun. Check us out at boundarycornervt.com, and we'll be streaming on X tonight, on YouTube, and on Facebook. So go check that out. If you want to get the mic, we'll drop the link. You can jump in with us and let us know what you think.
Yeah, jump on with those guys. They're great. It's great. They do a terrific job, and that's going to be a fun discussion. So I'll be tuned in as I mute the Monday night games.
There we go. I appreciate it, Rick.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. All right, man. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Good stuff as always, brother. Looking forward to it. You're going to have a fun week this week on the Boundary
Appreciate
Corner.
it, Rick. You have a good one.
All right, brother. Take care. Yeah, Boundary Corner's great. Brian does a great job. They all do. It's a lot of fun. So check it out. If you're a Tech fan, you're not watching that, you're missing out. Phil Elmassian comes up soon. By the way, Brian, thank you so much for becoming a premium member. That means a lot. It's another way to help support the program. It's only a couple dollars. If you ever want to do that, again, everything's free. I'll never expect anybody to be a premium member, but it does, every little bit helps, because this is not without cost. So thank you. That's why I appreciate sponsors so much. Wayne, I could not agree more. And I've said this a lot. Tech Fan deserves a winning program. They've done their bit. You are 100% correct. I know a lot of people want Mullen. I'll get an update from one of my sources, but told you this a few weeks ago. He's not interested in leaving Vegas right now because he's at a point in his life, he's been there. Maybe he wants to climb back into it, and maybe the money will be so great. But I don't know. Again, we can't just assume everybody's motivations. Believe it or not everybody's motivation is money. I think we fall into that trap because it makes your life easier from a certain perspective. But not everybody is going to always look at the family situation, the community situation. There's a lot of factors, and money is great. And I know money, and look, for the majority of it, it's going to be the calling card. I do. I'm not naive to that, but we don't know coaches' motivations. There's a lot of different ones. Money, yes. In many cases, the money talks. Sure. That's why Brian Kelly went to LSU. He's finally having him a really good season this year. That's a good defense. But I just say let the process play out. Tech's got a lot to offer. And one of the best things they have to offer is this, what Wayne's talking about. This fan support it blows my mind how loyal and great you are. Then they do. 100% they do. I was talking to a lot of people. I went to the National Bank function on Saturday night over at the end of Virginia Tech. That's a great place, by the way. Everybody, you've been over there, right there on campus. Woo. Food was just outstanding. They had steak and salmon. It was delicious. I'm pretty particular on my steak if I'm out eating, because I feel like the Rick steak that one day you're all going to have an opportunity to taste when we have our big shindig here. But that was well done. Not the meat. It wasn't cooked well done. It was cooked perfectly medium rare. Oh, they had plenty of salad, Wayne. Oh, I mean, that was, of course, that's what started out. You walk in, what's all this green stuff on my? Anybody want this? I'm literally going around to my table going, anyone? Go ahead, take it. You want my croutons? Here, take my croutons. Paul, can we take the JMU coach and AD as a package deal? Raise your hand if you wouldn't hate that idea. That is a damn good football team. Tech is going to find out how good JMU is next year. Do I think Penn State would want Brian Kelly? Who knows what they're going to be looking for? Matt Rule has already been the main coach tied into that. He was there. He's an alum. He's got a lot of ties to that job. Many people are saying that he's already been contacted. He's the current coach at Nebraska. Now, he's had a hard time building Nebraska back. They look really good this year. Raiola's got one more year. I'm sure he'd follow him right to Happy Valley. Is that an upgrade? Is Matt Rule an upgrade? I think he's a good college football coach. He's another one of those guys that went to the NFL. It didn't work out. He was in over his head. You know who else was in over his head in the NFL? Nick Saban. The greatest college football coach ever? He could be. So, but he's put that behind him now, and now he's back in college, and he's starting to slowly turn Nebraska around. I don't know what Penn State's going to look for. I know Ryan Pry, our attorney who in charge of our BDST fan question of the week, he's very close to the Penn State program. I think we can count on Ryan Pry to let us know. But Matt Rule seems to be a guy that's immediately tied into it. I saw Kirk Cignetti's name immediately associated with Penn State. He's at Indiana now in the same conference. They just won at Oregon. Hey, Sherry. It was fun watching JMU Saturday. Bad calls by the rest, but they still pulled out a win. Yeah, they're good. Sherry, you saw them up close and personal. It's a well-run program. And Matt Roan, the AD, well, Jeff Bourne got the ball rolling. Jeff Bourne, outstanding athletic director. Boy, did JMU hit back-to-back home runs with that. Think about that. Jeff Bourne took JMU into the new era. Think about what JMU's had as an athletic director. You got a superstar, a rising superstar in Matt Roan. Just got put in the Nichols State Hall of Fame. He's going to be in the Eastern Kentucky Hall of Fame. Man. And you watch them play football. They don't have anything close to what Virginia Tech's going to have, what these other schools have. Their only loss was to Louisville, a team they were in, but they turned it over in the fourth quarter. Jimmy says he likes Matt Rule for Penn State, but how much does Nebraska pay him? I don't know. These are questions that they have to figure out up there. Would Cignetti do that? I don't know. Again, you don't know people's motivations. Kirk Cignetti is probably the hottest coaching name in the country right now. You know, the guy who was at JMU, hired by Jeff Bourne, who wanted to talk to the folks in Blacksburg 4.5 years ago. That guy. He didn't get an interview. Tons of messages on our professional door text line. I mean, tons. Travis Williams, good investment. I'm letting Coach Elmassian know that I sent him the invite. All right, there we go. He'll join us soon. Too old. If I didn't know how true that was, that happened from the two sources that I have over there that were part of the whole. You see, that was a mindset you can't take into this next hire. It needs to be a whole encompassing net. Too old. Wow. All right, I'm getting a ton of people saying, hey, Rick, I missed the first part of the show. Somebody said you had a graphic. Hang on there, text line people. Here we go. Here's the James Franklin graphic. One in 15 against top 5 opponents, 4-21 against top 10 opponents, 15-30 top 25. He couldn't beat Michigan, Ohio State. If people want to know why he was fired, that's the reason he was fired at Penn State, right there. Not the fact that they've had 9-10 win seasons, of course, played in the playoff. But that's why he was let go right there. They have different expectations there. They measure themselves. We're getting ready to talk to a guy coached in the Big Ten. Penn State measures themselves with Michigan, Ohio State, and you see what his record was. And there's a lot of things behind the scenes with him that other coaches tell me that he's not the easiest guy to get along with. So they decided to eat the $50 million. That should tell you all you need to know about that relationship. Keep all the comments coming in the chat room, the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. Keep them coming up on our Professional Door Incorporated text line. But we got a whole lot to discuss with this next gentleman. The coach, Phil Elmassian. Coach, how old are you? First of all, Coach, I don't want to get into football just yet. You had a cool Sunday night. You had date night out of the state with your wife.
Unbelievable. It was one of a birthday gift. Went to see Andrea Bocelli.
Oh, and
When I
that's
first met,
fifth time you've seen him.
This will be our fifth time. Seen him. We're groupies. Matter of fact, when we went to Italy. We went to Tuscany. We went to where he was living. I wasn't going to go be a stalker and go up to the house, but I love him. But I thought he was a football coach. I never knew who he was. When you coach for 40 years, you have no life, zero. So,
you just immediately assume all these people are coaches because that's where you're from. I love that.
Without a doubt. Listen, you know what? Your show is so good. I can't take notes fast enough listening to the show. You're killing me. I said, I really appreciate you having me on.
Come on. Appreciate you being on.
Well, I always tell Greg Roberts, I had a golden retriever for 10 years, and that was my buddy now, I'm telling you. And they're such a, loyal dog, and all you need to do is just love them up and show them they're wanted. So I feel like my golden retriever. So I appreciate it.
All right, well, let's get right into it. First of all, let's get into the Tech game. You watched, you saw it, you have things you want to talk about. And the one thing and you said this, I think maybe in the first time, Coach, you joined us. I mean, you can tell a lot by a team's effort. Phil Montgomery, those kids are playing hard.
They're playing with purpose.
Aren't they? They really are. And I think that's a hell of a job by that staff considering what's going on with this season. It really showed up to me on Saturday. I went back and watched. I was going back and rewatching plays and series going, those guys won it. So that's the first thing I saw. What else did you notice from the game?
Well, I have 4 takeaways. I had notes, and when you reach my age, you're going to have to take a lot of notes. But the one thing I looked at, personnel is so critical in this business, and that was one of my strengths. I had many weaknesses, trust me, but one of my strengths was personnel evaluation.
You were an evaluator,
through my experiences, my junior college experiences, working with Coach Norton, and we didn't film practice. We didn't, when I first got in this business, practice was very rarely filmed. The only thing you filmed was your games, back in the 70s, late 60s and 70s. So you got to be on the field and your eyes, you got to trust your eyes on that field evaluation of that player in terms of his strengths, his weaknesses. And I had to do that for 4 years. And and then I was able to be around a lot of outstanding head coaches that trusted your abilities to evaluate, trust in your eyes, what you're seeing, not what people are telling you, not what you're reading. It's what your eyes see. And I've always believed, give me the tape. When I'm interviewing a coach, they tell me what they do, give me the tape. What you see on film, 80% has been coached, good or bad. So without digressing, but here's my biggest takeaway was the freshmen that they're playing now under the circumstances. Sometimes the circumstances are difficult, which you have to make now difficult decisions.
Right.
And I think, and correct me, Rick, I want to be as accurate as I possibly can, but I had looked on the roster, and they're starting 4 freshmen on defense.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Especially at the linebackers position, things of that nature with whatever's going on there. Well, here's my question. Why weren't you playing them from the get-go? If they are making that kind of difference, it didn't take me long. I told Cornell Brown when we recruited him, I said, you can't give away positions people have earned. That was my rule. If you've earned a position, I'm not giving it away. That was my conversation with the players. All right, we'll give it away to anybody we want. Freshmen coming in, I've told upperclassmen, hey, I got 5 days with this freshman. You're behind him. Because you've been here for 2 years or a year in the spring, and you haven't earned the position. So we're going to take a good, hard look at the freshman. And Cornell Brown, I told Cornell, I said, I called him Big Daddy. I go, Big Daddy, you and I are going to make football history.
You were right.
That's a whole nother show.
Oh, I got you.
But I told him, I said, you come to Tech, I'm press releasing you number 2. And he ain't stepped foot on the field. When I got to Virginia Tech, they said, we got 7 starters returning on defense, and they were all excited. I said, to beat Temple and JMU? Are you kidding me?
Hey, Coach, let me ask you this. Bud Foster told me many years ago, he said Cornell Brown was the most important recruit that Tech had had.
Period. Because his attitude, people talk about myself or Bud or, all the things that went into turning the program around. Ricky Bustle doesn't get enough credit.
No,
there's a litany of people, the roster and Frank and everybody else. But what Cornell Brown did, I've always said, he taught me one thing about recruiting a player. You could have practiced for 4 hours with him. It was his playground. The field was his playground. You want players, when they start going to the field, I always was the kid looking out the window for recess. I wanted recess, couldn't come fast enough for me. Couldn't come fast enough. And those are the kind of players you want. That they love. He loved football. He loved the practices, and because he loved people, he loved being around people, and he was so infectious. His enthusiasm was so infectious to everybody, and that was amazing. So my number one takeaway was they're playing freshmen now. Well, my question would be where was your eval in the preseason for these freshmen? Because if they're good enough in midstream to all of a sudden perform at a level where it gives you a chance to win, that's all you want, is the opportunity to win. But now you go back to the Monday practice, the Tuesday practice, the Wednesday practice. So that's something that I would question. It's good news, bad news. The good news is they're playing freshmen, and the freshmen are giving you a chance in the performance area. Okay, but the bad news is why weren't these decisions made in the preseason?
Right.
Because we started about 3 true freshmen that 93 year. I've started true freshmen a lot. If you're like George Welsh always said, we're not saving them for the next coach. Play them.
It's very wise. Very wise.
That was George's. We're not saving them for the next guy. We're playing them.
That's right.
George was always, we had Kirby and Chris Slade, and were true freshmen, and of course they were great players. But that was my one takeaway. My next takeaway was sometimes you go into, I'm very careful about statistics in football, because I've always been told a 3-foot man can drown, a 6-foot man can drown in 3 feet of water. So you really got to be careful.
Right.
You've been in this business of statistics.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of, Coach Saban was always very emphatic about which ones affect an outcome of a game. And so there's about a handful for me, and the number one is third down, which is 100 years old, and it's still going to be 100 years older when I die. Third down, because it's possessions.
Yeah.
It's if you I did a study, numerous breakdowns. When you convert to a third down to a first down, your defense is going to play anywhere from 3 to 4 or 6 more plays on the 1 third down conversion, for sure. Minimum of 3 and maybe up to 6, even 8. Now you do 2 third down conversions in a row, you got points.
You got something, yeah.
Okay, you got points. We're looking at field goal, and then now today's football, because everyone has the wishbone mentality. If it's 3rd and 5, 4th and 3 or less, they're going for it. From their 40 to the 50, it's a wishbone mentality. You got 4 downs to make a first now. So, here's the deal: when the average third downs you're going to get is 12. That's your average. Most of your teams. If you get into the 15, 16, 17, or 18, that's a hell of a day for offense, particularly for defense, because you're playing good first down defense. You're ahead of the sticks.
The 12's the cutoff, right? 12's the goal. You don't want to have more than 12.
12's your average.
That's interesting.
Now, on your worst day, Rick, on your worst defensive day, okay? All right? You're my linebacker coach, I'm the DB coach, and I'm the coordinator. On our worst day, okay, is 8. If there's only 8 third downs, that's probably because the offense is screwing it up.
Yeah.
So you're not playing well enough to only create 8 third downs. There's too many first down, second down, first down, second down, first down, second down. When that starts happening, it's like lights out, baby. It's next game. It's broke. And I've been there. I've coached in those situations. So, but they're 0 for 8 on offense on third downs. 0 for 8. That's that. You're not winning games.
You're not going to win that. You're right. You're right.
You're not going to win games. Now what? Now everything. Whether it's now is it third downs or 2. I usually do a breakdown of your breakdowns go from 3rd and 11 or more, 3rd and 7 to 10, and 3rd and 3 to 6. When you get 3rd and 3 to 6, the offensive coordinator has still got genius in front of his name because he's got his bag of tricks. It's like 2nd and 7 or more. He's got run pass options. And all he's got to do is get half the yards now because he can get in the 4th down.
That's right.
Okay? All right? And so now you're looking at things of third down, what we call the medium, the short, not short yardage, but the 3 to 6 areas. Man, that's tough duty. 7 to 10, that now the defensive coordinator has an advantage because it's now up to the quarterback to create the first down. Okay, his arm, right? When it's 3 to 6, the offensive coordinator and the hands and the feet of his players that's on the field, they create the first down.
They create the first down, right?
Catch for 2, run for 2, first down. Catch for 1, run for 4, first down. So then when you got 3rd and 11 or more, the percentages go way down for the offense. Now you got key breaker situations, but on the 3rd and 11 or more, that's when you want to play a lot of zone. You don't want to have your cornerback. You don't want that's a shot down. When it's 3rd, 12, or 13, they're going to take a shot because why? Well, all right, we're going to punt the ball, but we could get DPI, defensive pass.
Yeah, sure.
So you don't want to be playing man with your backs to the ball. I'm getting into see, I don't get to talk football, so hang with me.
You're in the coaching room right now, aren't you? Right now.
you can cut this off anytime you want. You're not going to hurt my
feelings. This is great.
So my point. So here's the deal. So Virginia Tech is 0 for 8. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen 0 for 8. 0 for on third downs. I don't know. Now I know they created some 4th down situations, but that's one. And then defensively, it was they were 7 for 12. Georgia Tech had 12 third down situations and converted 7 of them. That's a 42% efficiency. So 4 out of every 10 third downs, Georgia Tech Virginia Tech is not successful. Okay, you've got to be at 70 all third downs to win games. Mm-hmm. Most of the no guarantees. You could be crappy third down, still win the game.
Right.
But when you look at percentages, 80% chance to win, as they call it, analytics. All right, that you end up, you got to be at 70%. You got to be operating at 70%, 69, 70%. And Georgia Tech, and offensively, you want to be at 40, 45%. You get into the 50, 60% offensively, you're getting points.
Right.
Because the more plays you are able to, make, you're going to convert them to points. So the third down was a disaster on both sides of the ball. It wasn't a formula for winning. And that's the obvious from any coach's perspective. The other takeaway, and is one thing about Georgia Tech, their offense will get a lot of offensive coordinators fired. Okay? This is why I'm sitting here talking to you, because of those kind of offenses.
Right.
When you got 11 on 11, you can't crap the 12th guy. It's illegal. You can't get 12 on the field. it was 11 on 10 because the quarterback was not a factor in the run responsibilities. So now you got 11 versus 11. There's a hat on everybody. So someone has got to be the block. And then you can scheme it and do all sorts of things, but you're in one heck of a guessing game. And here's the thing. Besides the O-line, football's come down to quarterback, running back, and tight ends. Tight ends are the X factor. They are a defensive coordinator's nightmare when you have a good one because you can't double them. If they can go, especially the ones that I call them first down makers, okay? I think if Virginia Tech, this is a criticism, but, it's a discussion.
Yeah, sure.
If Virginia Tech's OC, no knock on Phil Montgomery, I think he's doing a excellent job under the circumstances. But if they ran Vanderbilt's offense at Virginia Tech, they'd be tougher to defend.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to defend it.
With Drones being the catalyst, because I know you like his running ability. Yeah.
Hey, Secretariat, baby. The ball's only a couple of ounces? Ain't that heavy?
That's right. That's right.
I want a minimum of 40 rushing attempts a game. Minimum. That's my goal. I want 40 rushing attempts, and he's going to have 20 of them, 15 to 20 of them, maybe 15 for sure.
That's what he was getting when he had the good year here. He was getting that. He would be their leading run. He was leading them by far in carries. So there you go. It fits right into your formula. Yeah.
Yeah. All the work I've done for Greg Roberts over the last 9 years of when we talk about Virginia Tech games, particularly now the last 3, it's like broken records. The last 3 or 4, it's the same show. I mean,
yeah.
You could just keep replaying the same show. It's getting, wow. I mean, the NC State game was so refreshing. And it's not even the wins and the losses, but just how they're performing.
Sure.
When they got 40 plus rushing attempts, they probably have won more of the games than they have lost.
That's right. Okay.
When they've won the third downs battles, they probably won more games than they have lost. So here's my next point, Rick, that I think one thing about Drones, what I've seen the last 2 games, he's actually looks more poised, more composed.
He has.
I think he's actually mentally more into the game than he was before. That's what I see. I'm watching. I love quarterbacks' eyes. I was huge on eyes. They're either bright or dull. You look at Pavia. He's a bright-eyed guy. You look at King. He's a bright-eyed guy. You look at the kid at Virginia now. He's a bright-eyed guy. When you got dull eyes at quarterback, I used to stand by him in the warm-ups. I want to see what kind of eyes they are. And if I'd always come in the locker room after the warm-ups. I go, we got him. This guy's a dull-eyed. We got him, And Drones looks really, his eyes show confidence to me. He's very composed, more composed than I've ever seen him. For whatever reason, that's what I see.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't know if that's, wherever the dynamics land, that is the one change I've seen in him because, for 2 quarters, as I've said, for 2 quarters, he's playing for Tech. The other 2, he's playing for the opponent. Now I'm seeing some consistent. He is competing.
He is competing. Yeah.
I will say that he competed Saturday against Georgia Tech.
He did.
To his talents and his ability. Okay. But the one huge question I have, you look at Georgia Tech's tight ends, they had a big factor in the game.
They're
huge factor in the game. Where's Gosnell?
I kept watching.
Where is he?
I thought about you.
Where is he, Rick?
I don't know.
Rick,
I don't know.
0 receptions. He's the best NFL prospect they have, and I may be wrong. Someone tell me I'm wrong. I don't scout for the NFL, but if I was an NFL scout, I am drafting him. He may be the last player taken in the draft, but I'm taking him. He is a first down maker. Get him the ball. The 2 positions, talents they have that can drive a defensive coordinator insane is a quarterback's ability to create positive yards and a physical guy, right? What's Drones? 6'3"-ish? I don't know. Was he 230?
Might be bigger than that. Yeah, he might be.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
I'll tell you one thing. If he had one more year, if I would tell him, I'll get you in the NFL. You come on over to defense, and I'll make you a rush end or a linebacker. And I'll make you a bunch of money.
Phil Elmassian joining us on the program. Yeah, he's about 6'3", about 240.
Sounds like a DN to me.
240. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's
you know what I mean? Huh?
That's a great point. To your point, yeah, Wayne just pointed out, use the tight ends, right? The other guy caught, but you're taking away, you're making it a little easier for a defensive coordinator when they know they don't throw to their tight end. They don't use their tight end, so we can kind of focus on other stuff, right?
The only thing about Drones, the problem with Drones, he's a typical spread quarterback. It's, it's more vertical stretch game rather than a horizontal stretch game. There's a formula: timing plus accuracy equals completions. Okay. He doesn't have good timing. His timing is not very good. You got to get him on the move. And he's not what I call a West Coast quarterback. He's not going to get in those quick time, because everything's about the clock. Everything's in the passing game starts with your offensive line and the protection. Then it goes to your route concepts against whatever, one high, split safety, single safety, coverages, man, zone. My buddy always said for a quarterback, go up to the line of scrimmage, expect man, be happy when it's zone. Okay.
I like it.
And this guy, between Benji Gosnell and his abilities to block and catch, get him out there, let him be the hitch screen guy, because I'll guarantee you that's going to be positive yards. If they don't, they may not block one guy, he'll break a tackle, or run the quick game, get him on the stick routes, get him the ball, because he's gonna catch it, and it's gonna be plus yards. He's not gonna have many lost yardage plays after the catch, and so that's the biggest disappointing thing I have about, because again, quarterback, tailback, tight end. Look at Georgia Tech's, look at Virginia Tech's. I'll guarantee you Georgia Tech would sit and go, I'd like to have Richie Gosnell.
Yeah,
I'd like to have Benji Gosnell on my team, or what's the running back from Virginia Tech now that's doing really, really well? I can't. The portal has gotten me. I can't keep up with the names, but they've got a good running. Haynes King is a great.
Terrion Stewart and Hawkins had the bigger game. Hawkins is good too, but Stewart's been the guy that people really like. Yeah.
Well, Haynes King he's a quality back. He's an all-conference performer, and I think he's like a Bayshon, the Tootin kid. He's an NFL prospect. But I'll guarantee you Georgia Tech would look down that roster, and if Benji Gosnell wanted to transfer to Georgia Tech, they'd
take him in a heartbeat. Yeah.
They would take Stewart, and they would take Drones, but maybe they'd do something else with him or create the offense with him. But so those are my takes, Rick, on the Virginia Tech game.
No, it's good. It's good. I want to segue out of that to a conference as well as anybody, the Big Ten. And what happened?
I don't do schools. I do conferences, Rick.
I know. Well, let's think about that mindset at Penn State, because you know all about trying to scheme and what they might think. And, of course, James Franklin is no longer employed, and people are clamoring for him to be the next coach in Blacksburg. But Penn State is measuring itself against two programs, right? And they do. That's what they do. Ohio State, Michigan, and it's everybody else. He failed. He failed in that regard. He failed against national competition. So just your thoughts on what this means for what is Penn State going to do, and what's it like in that league when all of a sudden you have something. You were with one of the guys, Barry Alvarez, who had as much success as anybody for an extended period of time in that league in the modern era, right? He just decided he was ready to leave it and he wanted to get out of it. But, I mean, what's Penn State going to do now?
Well, I coach with Joe Tiller at Purdue.
That's right. Yeah.
Lou Holtz at Minnesota and Barry at Wisconsin. And
Right.
Purdue was 2003 and even 2011. But,
Joe Tiller's a great coach.
Here's what's going on. To me, what I see with Penn State, you look at Virginia Tech, it's amazing because of the connections with Coach Pry and Coach Franklin. You look at these programs, Rick, and they're going through the same thing. Okay, Virginia Tech, after the Vandy game, they play Vandy a heck of a first half. The second half, disaster, and they have a fractured football team on Sunday after that Vandy game, and they get an embarrassing loss to Old Dominion. And it wasn't a loss; it was how they lost. And sometimes it doesn't matter how you win; it matters how you lose.
How you lose, right?
Okay, because you can get beat and you can lose, and there's a big difference. So they lost. You look at Penn State, Rick. They go out to Oregon and play their tails off, just like the first half of Vandy for Virginia Tech played their tails off against a really quality football team. Okay. Somewhere between after that plane ride in Oregon back to Happy Valley, going back out to UCLA, something happened.
He lost that team, didn't he? He lost
something
somehow.
happened.
Yeah.
And because now you got UCLA, who was not. Hey, at that time they're 0-4. They firing their coach. They got every reason to, quit. And all of a sudden he didn't get beat. They didn't get beat. They lost. UCLA. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And not just because of the records. It was just embarrassing.
They did. Did whatever they want. They did whatever they wanted offensively against Penn. They just destroyed Penn State up front.
And then you get the next week a Northwestern, and so that's not going to stand anymore from that perspective. And here's what I think, Rick, happened. This is what I think. Somewhere after that UCLA game, usually, and I've done this. I've gotten fired by coaches because I've told them, stick it where the sun don't shine.
Sure.
Okay. And I'd do it again. Okay. Because that's, and I have no problems with being fired. None. I get it. I knew what was going to happen before words came out of my mouth, but I was fine with it. Somewhere there's what Jim Knowles, the D coordinator that left Ohio State to go to Penn State for $3 million.
Yeah.
Something went south.
Mm-hmm.
Because, UCLA scoring all the points, blah, blah, blah. Here's Jim Knowles. And I'm not talking about egos or whatever, but I don't know because Noah spelled K-N-O-W. But here's what I do know. There's a chance something went south in that staff meeting.
Yep. Had to.
Okay. Something. Don't know, but something went south. And then, or whether it's players, the portal, NIL, big money donors, or the staff, or all the above. But he got fired. He lost his job. And so but I look at Virginia Tech and Penn State, it's almost like the same. It's the same book. Same book.
Hey, Dwight Vick's in chat, Coach. He wanted to say hello to you. DV Victory Life's in chat. He wanted me to tell you hello. Always bringing it truthful. So thanks, DV. Appreciate that. Great stuff. Great stuff.
But that's how I look at the Penn State thing. They lost some games that were embarrassing, but I do think that you had something there in the staff between he and the DC, and the DC won. Or the players won. Somebody went to somebody. I'm not so sure it's the money givers to a point, but something happened internally between players and coaches and the head coach. Something.
They're eating $50 million for more reasons than a couple of losses.
Hey,
right?
You know what? If I had one of those contracts, please
fire me.
Send my check. Hey, like Coach Norton always used to say, send my check to Sanibel Island, Florida. That's NORTO. He's going to be, you're on point on this one, Rick. He's going to be at ESPN.
Yeah. Yeah, he's going to take some time off. Everybody, he's not going to jump back in. Why would he jump back in next year? Why would he even consider it?
Hey, if you won $50 million on the lotto, you think you'd go back to work?
I mean, I don't know what his motivations are. I know the motivations for him are a lot about him, but I don't know what is going to drive him. But I think he's the kind of guy who'd be like, all right, let's just let things settle. Let things
ESPN. That contract, that's done. That's being done right now.
You think so? You think he's getting a car? He finished the season on ESPN.
ESPN is going great. Great. Our ratings. Here we go. No, he'll be on ESPN.
All right, Coach. I want to ask you this, and I'm not going to ask for names unless you want to supply them. Then that's great. But I'll ask you because everybody's asked me this morning, and they've asked me for the last couple of weeks. What kind of coach? What's it going to take for Virginia Tech to hit a home run that they desperately have to have with this next hire in your eyes? What you've seen them bring in with Fuente and with Pry, and what they need to do, the kind of guy they need.
Well, don't panic. Don't try to win the press conference. That's my first thing. Don't go out and try to win the press conference. Okay? Go get a guy who knows how to evaluate, can bring coaches in that know how to evaluate, that have the experiences of evaluations and understand, not only within your roster, but the portal and the high school recruits, and how many players you can bring with you. Okay, here's an example, just off the top of my head, and this is why I'm not on the committee, and this is why they would never ask me. Okay.
Okay.
But, I've always looked at. I'm going to divest a lited bit. When I was at Wisconsin, Coach Alvarez, my first year there, we were very average. We won 8 games. But I said, well, Barry asked me, so who do you want to visit? Professional advancement. And I looked. Vanderbilt had not won an SEC game. Norm Parker was the D coordinator. I said, but they were number 1 in the conference on defense. They had one of the best defenses. Their offense was so bad. So I told them, I want to visit Vanderbilt. They have our kids. These are our kids. We don't beat Michigan and Ohio State recruiting. We don't.
Right.
Even in the NIL era, it ain't going to happen. And Barry knew that. So we got our brand of kids. Joe Tiller was the same way. Get a Purdue guy. Get a Virginia Tech guy. Get a Wisconsin guy. Define that. You go to Joe Tiller and you say, oh, Coach, Oklahoma's recruiting him. He'd look in front and go, get off him. Don't waste money and time. I don't care if he's telling you he's interested. Unless he shows up on the campus tomorrow, okay, don't waste your money and time. Let's get a Purdue guy. And basically it's a smart guy that loves the game, that can't live without the game. That's basically it.
Yeah.
And that's what we had. That's why we went to 2 Rose Bowls. That's why at Purdue, we had 8 of our 11 starters on defense were NFL draft choices.
Incredible.
And they started for their teams and played a minimum of 6 years. So they just weren't roster guys. So,
right.
Yeah. So, you know what guy I would talk to? I'm not saying this is the guy they should talk to, but, I think you can have fun with this. A guy from Wake Forest.
1 year in? Yeah, he's at Wake 1 year. And
he's been at Washington State. Look what he went through at Washington State. Have you ever been to the Palouse?
I've been to the Palouse. Yes, I have been to the Palouse.
You have?
Yes, I have.
It is the only hole above Earth. There ain't no. It's like Ames, Iowa. It is truly the only hole above the earth.
I have been.
How are you going to recruit? How are you going to recruit for Washington? When I was coaching at the University of Washington, they played with our rejects. Now that was a problem because when the game went on, their feet never hit the ground coming out of the tunnel because they wanted to prove you should have taken me. And that's why it's a tough rivalry game, and that's a fact. But a guy like I'm talking about proven guys that have proven themselves. Look at Signetti. He's won every place he's been.
Always, every year. Yeah.
Every place, at every level. So I don't know the guy at Wake. I don't know. But all I know is give me a track record of going into programs and turning them around with the person and being there long enough that they got their place. Don't get these guys that are 1-2 year win with the other guys' recruits. Look at Fuente. Frank made the comment, the cupboard's not bare.
That's right.
Made that comment.
And they won because of that. That's
2 years.
Exactly right. Yep.
2 years. And then his big downfall, I know this for a fact, the high school coaches were not happy. The guy pissed some people off.
No question.
I know this for a fact.
Yes. Yeah.
Not even in the state of Virginia.
Yeah.
So, what are you looking for? Well, okay, give me the guy from Wake who's won at Washington State, who's won at Wake Forest, okay? Or, let me go talk to the guy at JMU. He's won at Holy Cross. He's won every place he's been. I want to talk to guys that have gone into programs, turned them around, sustained it, because turning around programs is not hard. Sustaining is the tough part. It's harder than ever before today because your roster turnover. So those are the guys I'd look for.
I asked you because the only name that I've heard officially that Tech will reciprocate interest in is Ryan Silverfield at Memphis, and you're aware of him. And the first thing I asked you, and the first thing you said was, I know he'll bring players, right? Guys will follow.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of Memphis kids who are going to go want to play at Virginia Tech. There'll be a lot of Wake Forest kids who want to come out to Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech.
He's an evaluator. Watch that team play.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch them this weekend. You know them. The people who haven't paid attention to Memphis, people poo-pooed all over that. They didn't want to hear that because he'd been at Memphis. He has no connection to Justin Fuente in any way, shape, or form. It's a totally different program. But yeah.
No, you can't use that. You cannot. You do not use that eval because of the fault of the other guy. It wasn't Memphis. It was Fuente and recruiting.
It's the guy. It's not the school we came from. It's the guy.
Yeah, the guy, not the school. But here's my question for the coach, for you, Rick, would be, what's he done? Where was he before Memphis? I want to know, where was he before Memphis?
He was in it. Yeah, let me look at it. I want to make sure I get it right, but I did.
That would be my question. I know he did it at Memphis. I need to know if he's consistent in his career.
Yeah, let me look it up here and let me give you the whole overview of this gentleman here. He's 48-21. Is his career record. Hampton Sydney, he was in the NFL for a while. He was at Toledo as an offensive coordinator.
Was he the head coach at Hampton Sydney, or was he an assistant?
He was an assistant. He coached the tight ends, which I know you love. Coached quarterbacks, offensive line, defensive line with the Vikings.
Okay.
Offensive consultant with Toledo. He was the offensive associate head coach at Arizona State. And right before he got the Memphis job, he was with the Lions as the assistant offensive coordinator. And he's 48-21 as a collegiate coach, and he's 4-1 in bowl games.
Yeah. You know what? That's a heck of a resume. He's got, the thing that I look at him right now is you sit there and go, well, this guy has really have some evaluation experiences. Because, you especially when you get into that NFL, the experiences to evaluate players from free agency to college players. But I think what Virginia Tech needs to do is I need a body of work. I don't need a one school guy turning it around. I want you give me 2 places he's turned it around. Okay, as a head coach, like Frank Signetti had. Or look at Dave Clawson at Wake. Dave Clawson won as a head coach. He won at Richmond. He was at, where was he at? Not Elon, or he was at one of the North Carolina small schools as a head coach. Then he went to the OC at Tennessee. But you're looking for Dave Clawson. He won at Wake. He won at Richmond. So I think anytime you can get a coach that has done it in 2 programs. You want to be sure of yourself. Give me two college programs you've turned around on your ascension to this job. Okay? Washington State, Wake Forest, that gets my attention. Because you got 2 programs that aren't supposed to win. Washington State because of location and recruiting, and Wake Forest because it's Wake Forest. And you said this, Rick, and I totally agree with you. Look what JMU has done consistently with their coaches. Look what Wake Forest has done consistently with their coaches.
They nail it every time. Jim Grobe. Jim Grobe, for goodness sakes. She wasn't a sexy name, right?
Grobe and I played together. I told Grobe, why are you going there? It's a coach killer.
Yeah.
He turned it around. So that's my only take on it is, I know what Coach Holtz, you look at Coach Holtz, that, when he was the head coach at William Mary, the reason why he got the NC State job, and we've talked about this numerous times, when I was my junior year at William Mary, we played Wake Forest and North Carolina, Tulane, and they were really, really good. We had a very tough schedule. West Virginia, Virginia Tech. We lost to Carolina by 1 point, 36-35, and they had to go for 2 to beat us. And when that game, and we ran up and down the field on them. And after that game, Lou got the NC State job. End of story. They called him up. They were talking to him. They called him, go, you have the job if you want. And then we lost to Wake, who was ACC champ the year before, by a touchdown. So he was able to take William Mary kids, people like me, which I was a coach killer as a talent, but people like me, that we were able to, win, compete with those people. And so that's what you're looking for. I think you're looking for a guy. I would say there's no such thing as never and always, but I would want 2 bodies of work at this job at Virginia Tech. Give me 2 bodies of work where you've gone into 2 programs and have been there a minimum of 3 years, 4 years in both. Okay, that would be a criteria for me.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
And I'm not saying the guy from Memphis. I think the guy from Memphis, I'm going to agree with you. He's a prospect, just like players. He's
worth a conversation, right? Why not have a conversation? Yeah. Why not have that conversation?
Hey, like I've always said, you want to interview people so you can learn not only about the coach, but maybe you're going to get to ask some questions to the next guy that you just learned something about having talking to him.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Like, if I want to learn something about defense, I may not hire the guy, but I'm going to bring him in for the interview if he's doing something really good.
That's right. At least get that information from him, right?
I'm going to get that information. I may end up hiring him, but I right now, no, let's bring this guy in. Let him clinic us.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that.
The coordinators at Purdue, Jim Scary and Roxback, when Joe fired the DB coach, and I was coaching at Marshall at the time, but I'd been at Wisconsin. We beat Drew Brees twice when we played Purdue, 98, 99. We had 7 interceptions in 2 years off them. My one corner had 2 picks for touchdowns off them. He ended up being a first-round draft choice, Jamar Fletcher.
Fletcher. Wow.
So the DB job comes open, and you got to know Joe Tiller. Joe Tiller never left the 60s. He was great. So both coordinators are telling Joe, hey, you got to hire the guy. You got to bring him in. You got to talk to the guy. Joe Tiller held my resume. He held my resume up. He goes, no effing way am I talking.
He hired you. He hired you.
Well, what happened was they finally convinced him. They said, Coach, 7 interceptions. We just, we really played really well on defense, against Drew Brees, and they were good, And so they convinced him, Coach, just bring him in for a clinic. Let's find out what he did so we can beat Wisconsin, And I interviewed, I said, I knew I was going in there. I go, I have no chance at this job. Because Brock told me, he goes, Phil, looking at this clinic, but we'd love to have you in. But I eventually got the job. So
that's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
Well, Coach, listen, thanks for spending a little extra time with us, man. It's great. I love this segment. So do our listeners. It's great. And I'm so glad you had fun last night. You groupie, you. Who knew? Who needed to get out of football and become a groupie chasing music artists?
Beach music to the classicals, baby. I'm flexible. Everyone, my wife, Janet, it's her fault.
It's her fault. It's true. It's true.
I've gotten cultured. See, here's my problem, Rick. I tell people this, and I tell the players this. All right, I went to fair. The most physical, it was physical abuse. Okay, we can all claim. Jimmy Grove, we both played together. We were, because our warm ups was bull in the ring and arm circles. That was how we warmed up. Okay, and then I go to William Mary, the most mentally demanding thing I've ever been through. Somewhere in between, I am a mess. So, hey, that was a lot of fun. Hope, I'll tell you, they're going down like flies. Oregon State, Penn State, Virginia Tech.
It'll be more and more every week going forward now. They're going to hear something.
The byproduct of the portal and the NIL together. This is, and the NCAA could give a crap. No. How many coaches? They could care less of Dave Clawson getting out, Nick Saban getting out, or Franklin getting fired. They could care less.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So,
well, have safe travels. No, it was great, Coach. Have safe travels getting back, okay?
Well, thank you so much. And I heard you had a great night we got to talk about the Dedman Center.
Yeah.
I can give you a great story.
We'll get you to come by there for a game.
Oh, I you know what? I will. I go fishing over there too, by that little stretch of water.
Yeah, right there.
And, that's one of my stretches. But one thing, because Dr. Dedman and Coach Hank Norton, Coach Norton's daddy was an attorney in Huntington, and they offered him the job in 1970, and he didn't take it. He told them, hire Rick Tolley. That's how Rick got the job.
That's
and
cool.
Then the plane went down, so that's another story.
Right.
Cool.
Very sad. Very sad.
That's every time I go by there, it's always dear to my heart when I see his name.
Hey, you're welcome anytime, man. Come by and see me. I work right in there, so come see me. Just let me know you're here. Let me know you're around, man. We'll go tour the whole place. Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds like a plan. Good deal. Take care, buddy.
All right, have fun, man. Take care. Be safe. Thanks, Coach. There you go. Phil Elmassian joining us on the program. Great stuff all the way around. Great explanations. He's been through it so many times. And we appreciate him and his time. Man, he's just so energetic. He should still be coaching. Don't you think? He should still be coaching. I want to thank all of our sponsors once again. Family Fencing Studios. Go get your free quote, 540-200-8294. Thanks to McClellan Chiropractic, Mark Huntley and crew over there across from Pepper Ferry Road. Professional dorm. Text line blows up all the time, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for the messages. I really appreciate them. I'm sorry if I don't get a chance to answer them as quickly as I want. 391-0788. I try to answer as many as I can. Thanks to Pulaski County Sports Entertainment, the presenting sponsor of this program, Little River Heating and Air. Give them a call, 540-553-2971. The attorney, Ryan Pry. We'll get more insight. Ryan Pry is very close to the Penn State program. He's a Pennsylvania guy. He grew up right there outside the stadium. So we'll get some insight about what they're thinking from Ryan Pry. Our BDST fan question of the week is going to be, by the way, do you want James Franklin? Yes or no? Or give me some reasons why, and I'll read them. Okay? Thanks to National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive making partner of BDST. Thanks to Harvey's GM in Radford. Go get your next vehicle from Brad Harvey. The NRV Super Bowl. They've been in business for 25 years. And go see James Lawson's Mobile Home Supply. Thank you for all your support. And as always, please share, like, and subscribe our content. Subscribe to the channel. Spread it out. We're getting close to 600. We're about 13 away. Let's get 600 now as our next goal. Spread the word. Remind people that it's free. Okay? Let's get that done. I know we need another hour. That's great. Yeah, that would be great. Hey, I get a few more sponsors. We'll do it for another hour. Get a few more subscribers. We'll expand this thing, baby. We will. Would love that. I'd love to have the opportunity to do that. Tebow, come on down, brother. I'd love to see you. Love to see you. Come down and see us, man, at the Dedman Center. That's great stuff. Great stuff. Thanks, Paul. Appreciate that. That means a lot. Julian, we're going to get you on the show here soon, man. Oh, we'll be glad to explain the Orange Crush connection. That Randy Gradishar jersey, my all-time favorite Denver Bronco. He's why I started liking the Denver Broncos way before this guy named John Elway. Red Miller was the head coach. I got to talk to Coach. I could talk to Coach Elmassian about Red Miller and the Broncos, but Randy Gradishar, it's why I wanted to play linebacker in high school. And I got to see him get inducted in the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, got to meet him and interview him. I was just blown away. Finally got in. 6-10, Paul? Wow. Hey, again, sponsors, call me. BDST game night at Radford. Hey, I would love to. You know what? It would be great. Oh, Coach, I'm getting your pictures, man. Those are great. He sent me pictures last night at the concert. That's awesome, man. That's great. We're gonna talk more to Coach Elmassian about his groupie, his musical groupie career now. Julian, I'm gonna get you on here, man. Oh, really? Your distant cousin is Tom Jackson? Old number 57? Really? Played at Louisville. Yeah, Tommy Jackson and Randy Gradishar are still best friends. He was there and spoke at Randy Gradishar's induction. Got to meet TJ. He's as good of a guy as you think he is on TV. Tom Jackson. Great stuff. That's awesome to know. That's awesome. Yeah, we should do that. A BDST game night. I'll be calling the game. We could all come and celebrate at Radford. That'd be great. Yeah, I'd love that. But Tebow, come see us, man. I'd love to have you come down to Dedmon. We've done a lot of improvements. It's very fan-friendly, more now than ever before. But, hey, hit me up. Hit me up, sponsors. I'd love to have the ability to be able to do this a little longer. Thank you so much. It means a lot. Again, the audience is why I came back, why people kept pushing me to come back. So thank you so much to everybody. Julian, I'm going to be in touch very soon, by the way, because we're going to need like a lot of show to have you on. We're going to get David on. We're going to have a whole thing coming up. We may have a big announcement coming up, too, with the Marty Smith, David, and Steve Ragsdale segment coming up, too. Appreciate all of our guests today. Thanks to Jermaine Ferrell, Brian Seigla, and, of course, Coach Elmassian. You can sit there and talk to Coach Elmassian for 3 or 4 hours, right? You're not a D-lister at all, Julian. No, you're not. Hope we made your Monday, your start of your work week a little better. You always better. Everybody take care. We'll see you tomorrow on the Tuesday edition. We'll put up the lineup later on the Facebook page. And again, please like and subscribe, share our content. Remember, it's absolutely free. We're close to 600. Let's get to 600 here soon, right? Everybody take care. God bless. We'll see you.